Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Phil's Camping and Touring. As you know, I sometimes use an induction cooktop and I sometimes use an air fryer. Not always, depends where I'm going camping. So how do I power all that up? Well, today we're going to talk about that. So I'm going to try to keep it fairly basic in this video. But for the first time today, guys, I'm going to show you my electronic setup, the complete setup, 12 volt, 240 volt setup, my Victron gear, the whole works inside my Pajero. I've never shown this before on my YouTube channel. And today I'm going to show you, and I've done this all myself, guys, all from scratch. The only place where I had help, and by code, by law, is the wiring for the 240 volt. So that was done by my electrician. The 12 volt wiring, I did all that myself, guys. And I learned to do this many years ago. I purchased a very expensive all-in-one box that came with a battery, the whole works. And it turned out to be a flop. Okay, it was a lemon. Luckily, I did get my money back on that. But when that happened, I thought, right, if you want something done, in a lot of the situations, you got to do it yourself. So that's when I started studying about 12 volt setup in particular. And I started doing my research. So what you see here now, guys, some of these parts are from parts that I purchased 5 years ago. So I knew back then I future-proofed. Now, we're going to basically briefly go over each individual part. I'm going to explain to you how the system works. In future videos, guys, I'm going to have videos separate for each of these components, and I'll explain in more details there what these components are and how they work. But right now, I'm going to show you my 12 volt, 240 volt setup. So, ooh, interesting. This is going to be interesting to see how you guys think of my setup that I've done all by myself, except for the electrician. Basically undo, put the connector in, the 240 volt lead, connect it back up. Basically 5 minutes to drive. The rest all done myself, because I have to do that if I want to keep the code. Okay, if I want to keep it to code, and I want to do it to proper things. So let's start. Now we're starting in the back of the vehicle here, because guys, this is where I've got my lithium battery. So as you're aware, I'm using a lithium battery. Now some of you might be surprised that I'm still using my iTech World 120X lithium battery, single one lithium battery, even though I'm running induction cooktops, I'm running a air fryer, I'm still able to use those on that 120X. So for what it is, it's got some good specs on it. Now, by far, it's not the best lithium battery out there. There are better out there. Eventually, I'm going to upgrade the battery to something like a minimum 200 amps. I've got a video out, guys, where approximately a year ago, I narrowed down my choices down to 4 lithium batteries. And the video's been very popular. It's taken off. It's getting a lot of views every month. I ended up going for the iTech World because, to be honest, guys, it was going to be a temporary battery to use for the time being for 3 or 4 months until I could afford, save up enough to get something that's a bigger capacity. Now the iTech World 120X is listed as a 120 amp battery. It's not an 120 amp battery, it's more like a 105 amp battery. So I got 105 amp lithium, and guys, I found it to be enough. I'm going to do a part 2 of the video, a continuation of that one that I did for a year ago on the different choices. And then I'm going to talk about what difference there are, what options there are, compared to what they were 1 year ago. The iTech World battery hasn't really improved. It's remained the same. It's the same as it was a year ago. Now, it's still a good battery. In my opinion, I think there are better offerings out there nowadays, although in hindsight, you do got to pay a little bit more money for them. This is where my lithium battery is stored. The box is built here, as you can see. That's mounted to a false floor on my Pajero, which is for false floor is bolted onto the base through the chassis. And this is also bolted onto that false floor. And on the back of this box that I've got made on the other side is where I've got all the electronics. So we're going to go there shortly. I'm going to show you that. So it all starts with the lithiums, and then it goes to a distributor box. And then from the distributor box, it goes out to an Egon DC hub, and it goes out to the MultiPlus, etc. It goes out to my battery monitors and all that. And I want to show you, and I want to kind of give you a bit of an idea how this system works. I've got a nice big negative cable on that. It's a lot bigger than what it needs to be. With this setup I've got here with this short run, I could have got away with a 60mm square battery cable. I always upsize. If there's a major spike, the fuse will blow before the wires will overheat. I've got a single thick cable, short run, that runs to a Victron BMV 712 battery monitor. 70mm square, that goes to my system at the front. I've got another 70mm positive cable that runs to the front, and I'll show you where that runs shortly. And I've got two connectors on there. The other one is the power and temperature monitor for my Victron BMV 712. Two cables running from the positive, one cable running from the negative. I showed you where the lithium battery is. So it's directly behind here, about a foot in that direction. Above that, I've got a shelf, and I've got this backing board here as well. So I use that to store gear such as my little portable solar panel, and also my camp chairs, etc. A little stove. I can store all in here. Eventually, I'll probably end up moving my ARB twin compressor setup in that vicinity. But for now, just the portability of that is all I need. Because to be honest, it doesn't get used enough to warrant a permanent setup in my 4 drive. So, I've got the leads that I showed you before. So right here is the negative lead. Okay, right here, it's shown here. It's coming up, and that connects to the BMV, the Victron BMV 712 smart monitor. Okay, it's a shunt. So what that does is records everything that's incoming and outgoing. So that's why it's the first thing that needs to be connected to your negative on your lithium battery or AGM. Now, if you've got anything that's connected between the smart shunt and the battery, it's not going to monitor that. So all your loads, everything has to be mounted after the smart shunt. So on your smart shunt, you've got a battery side that you connect the negative terminal to your battery, and then you've got a load side where all the loads are connected to that. And that's what you see here. So what we got here is the battery side going through, and then all the load goes through this, and then from there it goes to a Victron Lynx distributor 1000 BC. Now that's a new component, guys. I only just installed that last week, and the reason I installed that in here is to simplify, well, not so much, yeah, you could say it's to simplify the setup, to make it safer, and have one unit, one main unit where everything will connect to, basically, including the fuses. Now I've got mega fuses and mega fuses in this. I suppose you could call it like a glorified fuse box. I won't talk too much about that right now because I'm going to do a separate video on that. I've got the input coming through here. Now that's wired by mega fuse. I've got a 250 amp mega fuse on there. I've got 2 outlets coming out of this. Okay, one goes to my MultiPlus, my Victron MultiPlus Compact 12 2080. So basically what that is, it's a battery charger and inverter built into one. So it's not separate unit. Like a lot of you guys have got a lot of separate units, like a separate battery charger, a separate inverter and so on. This has got it all built into one. So I've got a 200 amp mega fuse running from that. The negative and positive is going from that to the Victron. But before we go any further there, I didn't explain the positive wire off the battery. So the positive wire of the battery, as I showed you before, it's connected to obviously the positive, and it's coming up through here. You can see it right there. You might be too far away, you can see it there. And I've got a main switch. Now this is a good quality Blue Seas or Blue Systems. You might notice I've sticked to very good high quality components here, because overall it's quite a big investment and it's inside my 4 drive. So I don't want to take risks, guys. So I've invested in some good quality, high quality gear that I know I think it's going to last me a long time. Now some of these Victron components in here are 5 years old, guys. So this is not something that I've just built bang in one hit like that. I've saved over time, and I did my research back then, and I've future-proofed. So by doing that now, I don't have to change some of these items. So it's actually saved me money. And when I come to that, I'll tell you which of those components there are. Well, there's one component that's 5 years old that I've got on here. Now the smart shunt itself, I've owned that one for a while, probably 3-4 years, that Victron smart shunt. This main switch, if I turn that off, it shuts down everything. The whole works, the whole lot, everything. Or for any reason I need to shut it down quickly, I just flick that off to the off and instantly everything is off. So that feeds the power through there into here and goes into that. Next then, as I mentioned, this is the output lead. Again, you're looking around 70 mil square cable here for both the negative and the positive. As you can see, it's just a short run that runs to my Victron Energy MultiPlus Compact. So let's briefly talk about that. Now guys, I have shown this in the past. Okay, I'm going to do a video that's more specific on this one day, because there is a lot of features built into this MultiPlus Compact, and that's part of the reason why I went for it. It's compact, so it doesn't take up a lot of room. So people like me who doesn't have a lot of room, it's lightweight as well. What you see here is not very heavy. For what it does, for what it's given me, the performance it is, it's extremely lightweight, all this gear. Because as you know, the lithium battery is around the 10 or 11, 12 kilos. And then my MultiPlus Compact, I think it's around about 13 kilos, thereabouts. The next model above it, you're looking over 22, an extra 10 kilos. So I built this system for lightweight. Okay, I wanted to get my vehicle as light as possible. So I'm well under GVM, well under. Even when this vehicle is fully loaded, going away to camp, I'm well under GVM. And I don't want to be at GVM, and I certainly do not want to be above GVM. I want to be as lightweight as this vehicle is, because hence, I mean, this is a 2005 vehicle. It's got about 360,000 Ks on the motor, so it's a diesel 4-cylinder turbo motor. So I want to look after it, and I want it to last as long as possible. I'm very happy with the vehicle. It drives like a dream. It's the best vehicle I've ever owned. It's driving on the highway. It's the most relaxing. It's easy to do long distance driving with this one because just how well it drives. The suspension is awesome. Honestly, the suspension, I'm very happy with it. So for me, for the type of traveling, the touring, the 4 driving I'm doing, it's more than exceeds. It's a pleasure to drive. So like I said, charger, inverter. Now, a lot of unique features. It's only available to Victron through this device by having a MultiPlus. Now, let's quickly go over one of the main features is power assist. So now guys, I've got a caravan input mounted on the vehicle towards the back at the other side there on the passenger side. So I've got a 240 volt input. So I can plug shore power in that. I can plug a generator. I've got a little generator. On the rare occasions I actually will take a little generator with me, a little Honda one, and use that to charge my battery. This thing has got, knows when it's plugged into shore power, and it's got a relay that bypasses the inverter. So when you're plugged into shore power and you're using 240 volt, it doesn't use the inverter, it just bypasses that. And of course, as you can see, it's got the RCDO main fuses here, one for the inlet, one for the outlet. So it's pretty well protected. It's earthed to the vehicle, it's earthed to the chassis of the vehicle. So it also uses the earthing point of when you connect it to shore power, goes through all that as well. But then when you switch off shore power, if there's a break, you lose shore power, and then it quickly diverts over to the inverter, and then it uses the battery. And then it's got a relay there which switches over. Then it uses somehow smart technology. You need to talk to an electrician or Victron specialist exactly how this design works. It then uses the vehicles as an earthing point. This is 240 volt, guys. So if you want to know more about that, you need to look into it yourself, guys. So being it's 240 volt, I'm not going to talk too much. I know a little bit about it, guys, but I'm not going to talk about it on a YouTube video because that's something I'm going to leave to the professionals. Probably the best way to describe it is, let's say I'm using a generator, or I'm at a camping ground that's got dodgy power, and instead of 15 amps, it's got a 10 amp plug, but it's, if you're trying to load it to, like, you know, say you're trying to get 6 amps out of that and it just blows a fuse, a circuit or something, well then you can go into the settings of this, and to do that you go via this Cerbo GX, which is basically the brains of this whole system, and we'll get to that shortly, guys. But we won't try not to talk too much about each component, otherwise this will be a long, very long video. I try to keep it short if I can. So power assist, you can go into the settings, you can tell the actual MultiPlus that you only want to gain maximum, say, let's say 4 amps from shore power, but then you've got a load that wants about 6, 7, or even let's say 10 amps. You've got a 10 amp load. Well then, if you're only going to allow 4 amps coming in from, say, let's say a generator, so like my little Honda generator, if I set it to only, you know, run at 3.5 or 4 amps, well then it's not going to run much more than above idle. Probably only about quarter the power. And the benefit with that is that it's going to make that generator run a lot more quieter, so it's not going to put such a big load on the generator. And then if you plugged in something in the 240 volt outlet that wants more than that 3.5 amps, say 10 amps, well then those extra, let's say for example I'd set it at 4 amps just to make the maths more simple, then, and you put a 10 amp load on it, then it's not like the whole thing's going to shut down and overpower your generator. What's going to happen then is the inverter's going to quickly cut in, and it'll get that extra 7 amps from the battery, and then it'll work the two together. So potentially with the MultiPlus here in Australia, as you know, we've got a maximum input. We've got 240 volt, 15 amps. Okay, so most of the places the 15 amps, but potentially you can get up to 32 amps output out of MultiPlus by using that combination of shore power, that 15 amp, and I believe it's something like 20 amps thereabouts extra you can actually get out of the MultiPlus. But you've got to have a battery that's capable of doing that, because that's a lot of amps, guys. So this battery here is not capable of doing that. Now the inverter built into this Victron MultiPlus is a 1600 watt RMS inverter. It will peak a lot higher. It can probably no problems, 2500 watts. It'll probably sustain a while, but after a while it'll start overheating and then it'll shut down. So it's got a built-in safety mechanism built into it. Because guys, like as I mentioned before, this is set up inside my vehicle. Okay, this is the only vehicle I own, all right? This is the vehicle I use if I'm going to work or somewhere. This is the vehicle I use when I go shopping. It's the only vehicle I've got. It's the vehicle I use to transport my mum around to the doctors and so on if she needs to go to. It's the vehicle I use when I go visit family. It's the vehicle I use when I go four driving, camping and so on. I don't have anything else, guys. This is it. So I want to look after this vehicle. I want it to last. So that's where I love the safety features that are built in, particularly when you're talking 240 volt inside a vehicle. I don't want to go and buy something cheap and run in the vehicle. I want to make sure I'm safe. So a lot of safety features in this, okay? It will shut down. If anything goes, it's always monitoring the power, making sure the power is clean. If there's any DC spikes, if there's anything above a certain amount of amps and so on, it'll shut down. You can also set it up so it'll only charge your battery at certain maximum amps when you connect it to either a generator or shore power. In my case, this unit here, which I'll explain, 2080. 12 is a 12 volt, so you can get these in 24 and 48 volt. 2000 is 2000 VA. Now it's just the way that Victron gives the specs on the power output, or these, they use VA, but 2000 VA is equivalent to 1600 watt inverter. 80. The 80 means that it can charge your battery up to 80 amps. So it's an 80 amp charger, okay? Now, the next model above is about 120 amp, and then you can get some that it's even higher than that. Now that iTech World 120X battery is recommended to charge at a maximum 50 amps. They don't recommend for longevity, if that's a word, to get, you know, the most of life out of your battery. I recommend to charge it no more than 50 amps, but it's an 80 amp charger. Well, you can go into the settings and tell this unit to only charge at a maximum 50 amps, the battery, and that's what I've done. So it's very versatile, it's very powerful. You can configure it to exactly the specs of the battery, how do you set it up, and you can set it up custom as well. And it's not difficult, it's not too difficult to do that too, guys, as well. So that's basically, so we won't go too much more into that, otherwise it's going to be a long video, and I think it's going to be long enough already. Okay, so from there, and then you've got your power outlet that goes through your 240 volt, and then I've got goes to the output there. Okay, well that's all I'm going to talk about that. I'm not going to say any more about the 240 volt, guys. The other side, we've got two outlets here. The other one, this is all 12 volt now. I can talk more about this, but if I do, we'll probably be here all day. So this one here now goes to the Egon DC hub. Now, been some controversy about the Egon DC hub. I've had people over the years flaming me for getting an Egon DC hub. I don't know why. It's my choice. It's what I've decided to use. I can tell you one thing. It's simplified the 12 volt setup for me. It's helped to make it a lot safer as well. It's centralized all the connections. It's doing away with a lot of connections, because in a 12 volt system, guys, the more connections, the more joints you got, the more chance of more resistance you're going to have, the more chance of failure. It's eliminated a lot of the wiring, so basically everything 12 volt size is all going through all this. You can see, look at all the fuses in there. You can see all the fuses. Even the BCDC charger, which is a Red Arc brand. In my case, this is the 1250D. It's also wired directly through to this. Okay, so there's no extra battery leads that's going to your battery terminal. Now, there's a lot of benefits in that, guys, when you're using something like that. You saw when I showed you the battery, there's only two connectors that's on the positive, and there's only one on the negative. Now, if I didn't have this Egon DC hub, guys, there'll be a lot more connections on there, that positive terminal in particular. And what that's going to cause is going to cause more resistance. And then resistance equals heat. And the more heat you got, the more potential of a fire. So again, guys, it's all about safety for me. Okay, so I've done my research. I wanted something really safe. And part of that is to do away with as many cables as I possibly can off the lithium. Now, last week, it's part of the reason why I've gone with this Victron Energy Lynx distributor 1000 DC, which this will handle 1000 amps. So I know I'm not going to have any problems with this if I ever go up to anywhere near the maximum 200 amps. That's or 250 amps that I've got coming input. And I probably overdid it a bit there. I could have got away with a lot less. But this unit is capable of drawing a maximum peak in, 250 amps. So I fused it that way so that anything goes wrong, the fuse will blow before the wire gets hot. So basically the cables will stay cool. And that's the idea. You want the 12 volt cables to stay cool. So in order to do that, you need to use the right gauge cable with the right fuse. So it's very important that your fuse is rated below what the capacity, the amperage that can go through that 12 volt cable is. And that's what I've done here, guys. So I've got 35mm square cable here that's going into the input. The rated maximum for the Egon DC hub is 150 amps. That's the maximum that can go through this. That's everything. That's just not just one component. That's a whole lot together. It's 150 amps. And there's no way, guys, I'm going to go anywhere near the 150 amps on that. Now, yes, my inverter here can draw 150 amps, but it's not going through the Egon DC hub. That's connected straight through to the distributor, and from the distributor straight through to the battery. So all the power going through that is going through this, but the rest, all this is isolated from the MultiPlus. Again, for safety. Guys, I'm trying not to go technical here. So that's the Egon DC hub. It's a high quality DC fuse system. All right, but it's not just a fuse system. It's designed to eliminate a lot of the cables. So the cable runs are a lot shorter. When I first put that in, I think I've had that for a couple of years or something. I don't know. As soon as they were released, I got them in. And it's one of Andrew St. Pierre White's creations from 4x Overland. Andrew St. Pierre White is known as David Attenborough, I think is his name, of Ford driving. So very knowledgeable guys. Him with Hines, who I believe is an electrical engineer or something. He's got his own business in Perth Pro, I think it's called. That they both designed this. They're using German quality components. Okay, so everything is no Chinese components. It's all the highest quality of German components. So yeah, they are a little exy, but there's a reason why. It's built for safety. Now this will sustain a lot more than the rated 150 amps. They could have rated this a lot higher, but for safety reasons, it's one of the reasons why I like to go with this, is it will handle a lot more than 150. So if anything should go wrong, a fuse will blow. And when a fuse blows, it notifies you straight away. Each fuse, everything, you'll see all these little LED red lights here. If a fuse blows, that LED, that corresponding fuse, has its own LED light. That blows or plays up, that red light will come on. So then I can quickly go on here, have a look. Oh yes, it's got a red light there. Pull that fuse out, put a new one in. And guys, it's only ever happened once. In the 2 years that I've had that in, it's only ever happened once. This is my Victron Smart Solar Charge Control. Most of you know what they are, what they're all about. I don't need to speak about that. That's the component that's 5 years old. That's over 5 years old. Never ever had an issue with it. Still like brand new. You can still buy them to this day, exactly the same. No updated anything. Again, future proof. I did my research when I purchased this back then, and it's got the technology in it now that works with all of this. So this connects to my Cerbo GX. Now, last but not least, guys, let's talk about my Cerbo GX. This is the brains of all this unit here. So on the back of my vehicle, you would have seen I've got a 7-inch HD touchscreen, and we'll go and show you that very quickly shortly after we quickly speak about this. So it's like a computerized unit, okay guys? So a lot of these components are all connected into this unit via either a VE direct cable, which is E3 here, or a VE bus cable, which is connected to the MultiPlus, USB cables, which powers a 4G modem. So this is always connected when it's available. When you're in a surface area, this is connected to a 4G modem. Over here, I've got another separate little cheap USB dongle where I've got some wireless temperature and humidity sensors. So I've got them set up externally to the vehicle, which I know what the external temperature is, what the humidity is internally inside the vehicle as well. I've got one set up in the freezer, one in the fridge, and also one on the compressor of the fridge as well. So it monitors all that. Now, all this data, everything is being monitored, and hence why it's got the 4G. I can remotely connect to this. I can turn off certain components. I can control remotely anywhere in the world, as long as I'm in a mobile coverage area or a internet connection, and this vehicle is in a connect somewhere. I can connect it to a mobile network. I can switch on, off the MultiPlus. I can change the input, okay, how much I can fit in there, as well as many other components. But also what it does is it uploads the data. Everything, it's got all this information on here, and it's uploading it to a portal. So I can go home, I can, even on my phone, I can go and connect onto that portal, and it'll show me in real time exactly what the system is doing, what it's drawing, what my temperatures, the humidity, outside, external, internal, the whole works. All that information is all available on the portal. I can view, but I can also download data going back, you know, quite some time. So, and that's handy to know, because I can, for example, I can monitor my fridge, you know, the temperatures, what it's drawing, how many amps it's drawing. Okay, it's all monitoring that. The AC, the battery charger. It's just got the graphs that you can produce out of that. You can produce graphs into either a Microsoft Access format or Excel format. And some of you has been following on my channel, particularly on my Facebook channel. You would notice there for a while back I was putting up a lot of graphs to do with my Dometic fridge on its consumption of power and how much consumption it uses and average it draws over a time period, which is really interesting data. And that assists a lot in troubleshooting. Not just with that, I mean, it monitors the temperatures inside the vehicle. I can see how the fridge is running at certain temperatures and then compare that to, say, like last year, or compare it to 3 months ago. Compare it what it's like in winter and summer. Not just that, it monitors the MultiPlus. So it's really handy to have, to give you an early indications of any fault anywhere as well. And of course you can get technicians to remotely connect to the system, and they can go over the system to make sure everything is fine. Okay guys, my camera just shut down again because it's overheating, but it's probably a good indication that maybe I'm talking a lot enough about that. Now I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want this video to get too long, but I'm going to quickly show you this touchscreen, which is right here, and how much data it's on there. That's the MultiPlus. It's turned off at the moment. If I touch this now via this, I can turn on and off different components on here, and I can get the same screen to show up on my mobile device or internet as well as what's shown here. So it's showing it's inverting right now. and then I can go through here and turn it off as well. Now each of these sections that I click on gives me more information on that part of the, like the battery. This shows more information on the battery, etc. You can see along the bottom here, I got the 4-drive cab temperatures around 24 degrees Celsius at 44% humidity at the moment, which is beautiful weather here at the moment. Fridge is at 1.2 degrees Celsius. Freezer it's at minus 25.9. I can go in here, and if for AC inputs, I can current limit. I can set the current limit as well in here, and I can do that remotely as well. Now for you guys that's going to be camping with the camping event next week down in Hervey Bay in Queensland, you'll be able to witness all this. AC loads, so any LCE loads is coming out. PV charger, so that's your solar panel, and monitors all that as well. And there's different certain screens you can go into as well. Relays, you can have relays set to start remotely generators, etc., anything like that as well. And these are the different screens. This is my favorite screen. Now this screen, what you see here is not the default screen that comes with the Cerbo GX. I've actually hacked into this to get this extra information on here, and I've got a video out about that. If you go back on my YouTube channel, you'll be able to see that. That's first time shown, quite advanced. It's probably, you could call it a fairly advanced video showing my setup there, guys. So hopefully you enjoyed that. If you've got any questions you want to know anything more about, just ask below. I'll do my best to answer it, and might even do a video on it, guys. So one day in this near future, I'm going to start doing videos on more of the individual components, show them in use, particularly with the MultiPlus. Do a video just on that and show you some of the features on that that I can use where it's a benefit to really consider these MultiPluses, guys, not just for safety features, but when you buy one of these, it's a long-term investment as well. I mean, they come with a 5-year guarantee, guys. They come with a 5-year guarantee, but just make sure it's fitted correctly. And if you're lucky enough to live in this beautiful climate area here in central Queensland, near where I am, it's a place called Solar and Sat, which is a Victron distributor, and they also are professional installers, guys. They got professional installers there that can install all this stuff for you. Doesn't matter whether it's a 4-drive, whether it's a cab, a caravan, a motorhome, a huge bus that's converted to motorhome. They can supply the components and set that all up for you, guys. And very simple, easy to use. They'll run through, show you how to use it. You can set it up similar to how I've got mine set up here, guys. So we're going to call it at that. This is a very long video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to go in and have some fun and edit this now and try to get it up to you the same day that I'm filming it right now. So guys, as always, thanks for watching, particularly those watch all the way through the video. Thanks very much. Hopefully you'll understand a bit more why I've got a system like this, guys, why I've got that in there, and it works perfect for me. Now this is a system you could easily set up in a caravan. In fact, it's probably better system set up than what most caravans are, guys. But if you're looking for something really good, particularly you've got a caravan, guys, a system like this, you know, if you've got the high capacity battery and a larger version of the MultiPlus, systems like this, guys, you can run your aircon off grid in your caravan. So it's very popular. It's a very popular unit, this type of setup for the caravans, etc., your big motorhomes, and in particular yachts, guys. People who live on yachts, they use systems just like this in the Victron gear, because these are marine proof, guys. These are designed for those situations. And as some of you that might be watching my channel that lives full-time on a yacht, sailing around the world, well, you know the importance of having something that's reliable, simple to get going if you're having any issues, okay, and something that's going to last, that can handle the environment. Well, guys, you can't get anything much better than the Victron Energy components. They are designed for these type of applications, guys. So, like I said before, if you've got any questions, ask below. I'll do my best to answer it. Otherwise, if you're looking for something like this and you're living in the area, or as what a lot of people do, guys, when they're traveling through Australia and they're traveling around Australia, quite often as soon as they get here into Bundaberg, they actually book their vehicles, their caravans or motorhome, whatever, into SolarSat, and they get these components like this set up. Now guys, I'm going to do a video on Solar and Sat in Bundaberg coming up soon. I've been talking about this for a long time. I've got to try to tee it up with the guys. Guys, there's a lot of you folks out there know of Solar and Sat, and a lot of you folks are traveling all over Australia when you're coming through Bundaberg. I know you guys get these guys to set up their vehicles for them. So they're busy. So it's very difficult for me to book a small amount of time for these guys so I can run over, show the Victron distributor side of things. They keep a lot of these products in stock, guys. You can even go on their website and purchase these stocks through on their website. They're very competitively priced and they know the products they're selling. And it's very important when you're purchasing Victron gear, guys, that you choose a distributor that knows the products, knows how to set it up, because if you have an issue, they're the ones you go back to. Okay, so where you purchase your Victron gear, the distributor are the ones that supply the technical support. All right, now there's some distributors, there's some resellers out there that don't know their products, and if you have a problem, you have an issue with setting it up and you contact them, they can't answer. If you contact Victron, 9 times out of 10 they'll just tell you go to your distributor and they'll be able to assist you. So if you get into Victron gear, guys, make sure you purchase from someone who knows the products and that do install them, preferably that experienced. That way that's your technical support, guys. Where you purchase through the seller distributor is the ones that offer you the technical support. And that's how Victron works, guys. You cannot connect directly through them, although there is a way you can. There is a Victron forum you can go to and you can get support through them via that direction. It's the only way, guys. And so there's a tip for you. So guys, I'm going to go now. I'm going to go and edit this video. So till next time, look after yourself, be kind everyone, and I'll see you next week at the Harvey Bay event. Cheers.